You didn't just stumble into another toxic relationship by accident. Your brain actually hunted down the exact person guaranteed to break your heart, and it did it on purpose. Think about it. Why do the safe, emotionally available people feel completely boring, while the chaotic, emotionally unavailable ones spark instant, explosive chemistry? It isn't fate. It's a subconscious glitch that actively tricks you into choosing familiar pain over unfamiliar safety. You are trapped in a biological loop trying to fix a deeply hidden childhood wound using the absolute worst person for the job. Until you identify this specific glitch in your attachment system, you are biologically programmed to keep dating your own emotional nightmare with different faces. But there is a psychological switch you can flip to override this pattern entirely. Here is exactly what that glitch is, and how you can fix it right now.
I cannot believe you just did that. It is always about you. It is not just the apples, Ethan. It is everything.
Me? You are the one who was overreacting about I told you this would happen. Why don't you ever listen to me?
This is not my fault. You are the one who started. Ethan, true these snacks. They are amazing.
Organizer name really outdid themselves this time.
You meet someone nice. They text back immediately. They show up on time. They communicate their feelings. And what does your brain do? It yawns. You tell your friends they're great, but there's just no spark. But the moment someone leaves you on read for 14 hours, gives you mixed signals or acts emotionally distant, suddenly your heart is racing. You can't eat, you can't sleep, and you're absolutely obsessed. You call this passion. You call it chemistry. But why does your brain crave the chase and reject the peace? It comes down to a biological survival mechanism that got wired backward a long time ago. When you were young, you learned what connection was supposed to look like based on your early environment. If your childhood involved inconsistency, emotional distance, or having to perform to earn affection, your developing brain wrote a very specific, dangerous code. Love equals anxiety. Love equals having to prove your worth. Fast forward to today, and your subconscious is acting like a heat-seeking missile. It scans every room and every dating app, bypassing the healthy options to find the exact energetic match to your original pain. It instantly rejects the safe, secure person because security feels utterly foreign. And to the primitive human brain, unfamiliar equals unsafe. Every time you give into this loop, you aren't just getting your heart broken again. You are deepening the groove in your neural pathways, making it exponentially harder to ever accept a healthy relationship. You're quite literally digging your own emotional grave, convinced that the person handing you the shovel is your soulmate. But here is the massive psychological flip you need to make right now. Those intense butterflies you feel when you meet someone chaotic, unpredictable, and emotionally unavailable. They aren't butterflies. It is not your soul recognizing its mate. It is your central nervous system recognizing a threat, sounding the alarm and screaming at you to run. Your brain is playing a twisted game of emotional time travel. Psychologists call it repetition compulsion. You're unconsciously seeking out partners who mirror the exact emotional deficits of your past. Why? Because your ego desperately wants a do-over. You subconsciously think, if I can just get this emotionally unavailable person to finally commit, it proves I was always worthy. You aren't actually dating them. You are using them to rewrite your own history. But why does this specific dynamic trap you so fiercely? Enter the anxious avoidant loop. It is the most common, most toxic dance in modern dating. If you have an anxious attachment style, you crave closeness, constant reassurance, and absolute certainty. So, who does your broken radar lock onto? The avoidant. The person who guards their independence like a fortress and treats vulnerability like a disease. On paper, this match makes zero sense, but neurologically, it is a perfect storm. Their emotional distance triggers your primal panic. Your panic forces you to chase them, and when you finally catch them, they drop a tiny, fleeting breadcrumb of affection. That single breadcrumb floods your deprived brain with a massive hit of dopamine. It feels euphoric, it feels magical, but it isn't love. It's an addiction cycle. You're biologically hooked on the relief of their temporary attention, confusing the end of anxiety with the beginning of romance. You're playing a rigged slot machine, pulling the lever over and over, hoping for a jackpot that simply doesn't exist in their programming. So how do you break a biological addiction that masquerades as a fairy tale? You have to stop trusting your gut. Seriously. Your gut instinct is currently calibrated to a trauma response. When you meet someone secure and you feel absolutely zero anxiety, your broken radar labels it as boring. You have to reframe that boredom entirely. That lack of panic, that is what peace feels like. That is what safety actually feels like. But rewiring your brain to crave peace means you have to walk straight through the withdrawal phase of toxic chemistry. And this is exactly where 90% of people fail. Because the second you try to date someone healthy, your brain deploys a terrifying psychological defense mechanism to sabotage it. That defense mechanism is the sudden, overwhelming sensation of the ick. Almost overnight, the healthy person's laugh annoys you. The way they text seems clingy. Your brain starts magnifying completely insignificant flaws, frantically searching for any excuse to pull the ripcord and eject you from the connection. Why? Because your subconscious is terrified of being exposed. If you accept a healthy, unconditional love, it means you have to finally let go of the familiar trauma you have built your entire identity around. Accepting a secure partner requires you to drop your armor and admit that you never actually had to fight for love in the first place. And to your ego, that realization is deeply, painfully vulnerable. So how do you finally flip the switch and fix this glitch forever? You have to endure the emotional detox. When you meet someone who is consistent, who doesn't make you guess how they feel, and your brain starts screaming at you to run because there is no spark, you must do the exact opposite. You stay. You white-knuckle your way through the perceived boredom and the sudden urge to flee. You actively override your own faulty programming by saying out loud, "This isn't boring, this is stability." You have to deliberately retrain your nervous system to understand that love is not a heart-pounding panic attack. True, sustainable love is a quiet room. It is a deep exhale. It is the absolute certainty that you do not have to perform, chase, or beg to be chosen today. The moment you stop treating your anxiety as a compass and start choosing partners who offer you peace, the repetition compulsion shatters. You step out of the emotional time machine. You're no longer the wounded child desperately trying to win over the unavailable ghost of your past. You become the conscious architect of your present, fully capable of receiving the secure, devoted love you have always deserved, but were simply too terrified to let in. The chemistry of chaos is a lie. The ultimate thrill is not the chase. It is finally arriving at a love that simply lets you rest.
Chloe, please, just put the phone down for 1 second. I need you to listen to me. We can fix this.
But retraining your nervous system to accept that rest doesn't happen overnight. Your subconscious will actively fight you, trying to drag you back into the familiar chaos the second you feel vulnerable. You're going to need a constant anchor to stay the course, and that is exactly why this channel exists. We decode the hidden psychological traps sabotaging your relationships so you can finally break the cycle for good. If you're ready to stop letting your trauma dictate your reality, and you want the exact psychological tools to build a mind that actually tolerates peace, hit the subscribe button right now. Don't let your broken radar pull you back into the dark. Join this community, and let's rewire your brain for the love you actually deserve.
I told you this would happen. Why don't you ever listen to me?
This is not my fault. You are the one who started it.
Nin, 3 day 呢名呢？